Once I have created my question banks, I can now create a managed assessment. So I've navigated in my assessments area to the folder where I have my question banks. I'm not going to click into the question bank itself, but rather just into the folder that contains those. Then I will click Add Resources and click Add Managed Assessment. Here I can title my assessment. I will then come down here where there's a plus from question banks and click that, and now I need to associate the question banks with this test that I wish to pull from. I would navigate to the area where I've created those question banks, and then I will see them. I can click on one or more depending on how many I want to associate, and then click Confirm. When I return to the From Question Banks menu, I will see now that those two question banks have been associated with this test or assessment. I have two choices for each one. I can click S, Individual Questions, where I can hand select which ones I want to add to the assessment, or Randomize Questions, which will allow me to choose a number of questions to randomly pull from this set. I'm going to individualize the ones that I want, and I could do it from both of these if I wish. Then it brings me to those questions, and now I would choose the ones that I want to add. When I do that, I need to indicate how many points that question is worth. I simply can put in the points, and notice it checks it for me. And then it adds those. It will add those to my test when I click Confirm. If you cannot remember how many points it was worth, say it was a matching question for instance, you will need to go back to that question to examine it and determine how many points you should be putting in here. So I'll click Confirm, and now you can see my questions have been added to this managed assessment. At this point, I could go back to the From Question Banks menu, and I could choose another question bank and add additional questions. Or I could choose Content here, and I can add text. That text would then appear between questions on my test. Notice I can still delete a question if I choose not to have that in the assessment, and I can also change the points if I wish to. Now I have a couple options at the top. One is a preview. So if I click that, I can now experience this assessment as the student, and I can go through and see if it is what I had intended. There's a little X so I can get back out of it. The assessment results will not be saved, it's just a preview. Then I also have a settings option up here where I would choose the settings that I want my students to have. Notice some of the options are how many attempts can the student have, can they view their submissions, do you want them to see how many points each one is worth? Do you want to randomize the order of the questions? Is there a time limit on the test? Do you want them to be able to flag things to review or eliminate choices? It's like crossing them out on a piece of paper. Do you want calculators available on questions, and if so, which kind, etc. And then down here, I would recommend clicking Instructor Preview. If you do that, then the instructors in the course can preview the assessment before they give it. Then click Confirm. Now you may want to confirm with your team members which settings your team prefers for each assessment. When you're satisfied that your assessment is complete and accurate to your desires, you can click the little orange button again, and just like for the questions, you need to move it from Draft to Active. Once it's active, it can now be distributed to a course. If an assessment is no longer needed, it can be retired, but not deleted. If I navigate back a level, I will see that my two question banks are here, and here's that new assessment that I've just created.